chub, rub, the day is just heating up. So what? These boy shorts are itching up. This size sundress, I'm looking good. This size sundress, I'm looking good. This butt, these pants are tight enough. I cut one of to cover my gut. Mom jeans all day, why you mad though? Mom jeans all day, why you mad? Side eyes, roll it on a downside. Cause my thighs are thick and wide. This size they divide these tights, man. This size they divide these tights.
Hey friends, how's it going? Glad to see you again back here for another week of Ask A Brown Feminem. I appreciate you guys. Welcome. This week's affirmation is lift up others. One of the things that I've been trying to do this week is take the time to acknowledge the talent and the hard work that I'm surrounded by that's being done by other people in my circle. I know that I have a ton of people who are out there creating art, who are working towards change, who are just doing some amazing things out there in the community. And so I just wanted to take some time and show my appreciation. And I encourage you to do the same thing. I encourage you to go out there and find the people you know who are doing positive things with their lives, whether that's practicing self-care or it's, creating art, or if it's, affecting policy change, everything, anything. And let them know that you see them and that you're proud of them. So I do have some pretty great questions for this week. The first up reads as follows. There was this guy I was dating a while back, and for the first 2 months, he couldn't get enough of me. We started dating, and he was talking about moving me into his place and marriage and everything, but a couple of months later, he says he's overwhelmed, doesn't have enough time to put in his half of the relationship, and then he tosses me like last week's trash. How can people change so quickly? Does God just not want me to be in a relationship? So here's the thing. I am hearing how you're feeling, and I'm sorry that that's something that you had to experience, first off. Having a relationship end is hardly ever easy. And, I'm sorry again that it had to be under those circumstances. The first thing that I want to address is the fact that we tend to have this idea of relationships as being like a cure-all, like an end-all be-all sort of situation where if we get into a relationship, we'll automatically start feeling better about how our lives are going. And what I feel like we need to understand is that the truth is that the healthiest relationships happen between people who are like consciously and continuously working towards bettering themselves as an individual. And when you have two people who are on that wavelength working together in a relationship, that's when you tend to find that you're in a healthier situation. So that's something to keep in mind. The healthiest unions happen between people who are working toward being their healthiest selves. What I would say is that God's not trying to keep you out of a relationship so much as it might just be that you need to take more time to develop yourself before you get into the relationship that you want, before you're ready to be faced with the relationship that you want. So my advice to you would be to spend some more time focusing on finding your happiness and finding your purpose, and eventually you will run into the relationship that works. As far as why people change so quickly, it sounds like you had somebody who didn't have a great concept of what it was that he wanted in the first place, and possibly didn't have a good model of what an actual relationship is, because honestly, after 2 months, for anyone to be talking about moving in and marriage, it's a bit much. It's a bit much. So that being said, I'm not giving him any excuses. I'm just saying that I don't know this person. Um, but it sounds like they didn't have any sort of realistic expectations to adhere to. And, maybe one day he won't be a trash person. Today is not that day. So, again, find what piques your interest, find what makes you happy. Eventually, that relationship will find you. Second question reads as follows: how can I support my girlfriend in her fitness goals, knowing that she isn't motivated by the same things I am? I want to highlight the progress she's made, but going to the gym is a huge thing for me, and I don't want to seem pushy or insensitive. So, first off, I appreciate that question. As somebody who has started going to the gym and looking to improve my own overall fitness, and whose partner is in much better shape, I get that. I totally get that, the difficulty of that position. So, what I would say is there's no one type of encouragement. Everybody responds to encouragement differently, and everybody has a different way of seeing progress. Everybody has a different what's the word that I want to use? Criteria for progress. So, what might be the best thing to do is learn first off what it is that your girlfriend is trying to do as far as her fitness goals. Is she trying to get swole like you in the gym, or is she just trying to work on her cardio? Is this more about changing her overall shape or her overall weight? What are her long goals? And once you have that information, um, you can then support her in ways to sort of make her journey to that destination. My words are not coming today. I apologize, guys. So another thing that I would say is encouragement doesn't necessarily have to be all verbal, and doesn't necessarily have to be pushing her to get to the gym. I know that for me, one of the biggest concerns is time. So another thing that you might want to try is just sitting down with her, um, and looking at her schedule and trying to figure out when it actually makes sense to go to the gym. Is there one nearby? And kind of helping her to etch out her plan so that she can actively start going again. Um, and lastly, I would say that I think that what a lot of people do when they hear that somebody's working out and is trying to get fit, they sort of automatically associate that with trying to become thinner. And so people will compliment, oh, you look so thin, you've lost so much weight, when that may not even necessarily be the thing that the person is focusing on. So the things that I like to say when I know that somebody is making an effort to be more fit is, you look really healthy right now, or you look really strong, or it looks like you've been making a lot of progress. And I try to stay away from comments like skinny, or you know, or you've lost a lot of weight, because that's not necessarily where we want to go with that. As long as she's healthy and she's feeling supported by you, that's the important thing. So I hope that helps. Last question reads as follows: what do you do when you have a chronic illness which affects your libido and your partner keeps trying to get you in bed even when you don't have the spoons? And admittedly, that's a tough situation. Um, we all have times where we're not really feeling um, up to physical intimacy. We're just not feeling it. And that can be anything from, cuddling to kissing to having sex. It's just the way that human beings are. And that's okay. That's totally normal. Um, and when you have a chronic illness added to the mix, it makes it that much more difficult. So I feel for you. And I thank you for your question. Um, the first thing I want to say is that you should never, ever, ever feel pressured into having sex with anyone, and certainly not in a committed relationship, and not in any other situation. you should not have to feel like you have to have sex in order to appease your partner. And I feel like if your partner knows that you have a chronic illness, hopefully they would be more understanding rather than less. Uh, and that's the way I feel about it. Sex is really important to a lot of people, not all people, but a lot of people. And some people even have physical touch as their love language. So receiving a no rather than a yes can be especially difficult for those people. But they also have to understand that you yourself have your own needs, and that physical touch as a love language can be gratified in a number of ways. Maybe you don't go to bed, but maybe you can have a hug, or maybe you can sit together closely on the couch for a little bit longer than you normally would. Something like that. So what I would say is that obviously you need to have a conversation with your partner and let them know that this is really difficult for you, and that you are in pain or you are in discomfort, and that you're not available in that way right now. Um, and try to come up with ways that you can provide physical closeness without necessarily engaging in sex. And if you have the right partner, they're going to be open to that. Um, you know, the right partner will not pout or pretend that they're going to wilt or spontaneously combust because you're not going to bed that night. What I would say again is, remember that your body is your own and nobody's entitled to it. And you are absolutely in the right for wanting to verbalize your need for personal space. And on that note, I'd like to add that I do have the link for a really great website. If you're not familiar with the love languages and you want to learn a little bit more about that, there's a website where you can actually not only order the book, because the 5 love languages concept comes from a pretty well-known book. You can go to the website to order it, but you can also take a quiz and have your partner take a quiz to help clarify what your love languages might be. And I think they even have a test that can be adapted for children if anyone out there needs that. So I will add the link to that in the comments. So those are my questions for the week. A little bit of a shorter video this week, but I hope you enjoyed it. I enjoyed having this time with all of you. So thank you for joining me on Ask A Brown Feminem. And I hope that the advice is helpful. If you guys have comments or questions, as always, submit them to my direct email, or you can put them in my anonymous ask box, the links to which I will also add to the comments. And you are appreciated. See you next week.